Relationship advice. Update. My, female 27, flatmate, female 27, has told my boyfriend, male 31, she's in love with him. Original post. I moved into my flat in October of last year to take the place of a mutual friend of mine and my new flatmate. We have a generally great atmosphere in the flat, and both have similar expectations and habits, and while we're not friends yet, as in we wouldn't go out for brunch or be each other's plus ones for parties, we are very friendly. She seems super normal and level. When the lockdown began, March, my boyfriend of 2 years was living with his sister and his mother, undergoing chemo, who lived alone, needed somewhere to stay where she could be looked after, so she moved into his room and he came to stay with us. My flatmate was totally fine, and we had a proper chat about ground rules etc. But ultimately the flat is huge for 2 people and she has a kind of granny flat setup in hers. Either way, she gave definite approval. Now, we 3 got on great, but never really spent a ton of time together. We all work from home and spend the occasional evening playing games or whatever, but ultimately, we didn't mingle much more than before. My boyfriend, however, cooks every night for the both of us as a thank you, and so we do now eat together and my flatmate seemed happy to be included. It was great. However, last week, my boyfriend took me aside and told me that while he was in the courtyard hanging out the washing, she ambushed him from behind and gave a huge speech about how she's in love with him, and while she respects he's with me, she has deep feelings for him, and that she's available if he were single. Oh, and please don't tell OP. She didn't try to kiss him, but tried to hold his hand. He was very anxious and flustered when he was telling me this. The flat atmosphere is very awkward now, but as far as she knows, he's not said a word. She's not said anything else to him, but he did mention that she had touched his arm a couple of times as she was walking past recently, and it's really gotten under my skin. My boyfriend is also confused because he hasn't spent that much time with her apart from dinner, and never alone. I spoke to our mutual friend who was shocked, and says she's never done anything like this before, and she'd never known my housemate to have a crush on anyone either. I've not seen her acting strangely in any other ways, and it hasn't outwardly affected how she treats me. We can't move right now because, virus, money etc. How do I deal with this? Now for the top advice before reading the update. Bro, what the hell? As the other comment says, have a serious and long conversation with her, your boyfriend included. This is extremely inappropriate and it's obviously affected everyone in the flat. Communicate how it has affected the atmosphere and let her know that she can't be touching up on your boyfriend when he's, you know, still in a relationship. That's wrong and disrespectful. Even if he isn't in a relationship and told her he doesn't want it, she should stop or just never do it. If it was a girl, single or not, it would have been a huge problem. If I could upvote this again I would. You don't have the right to start touching people because you like them. It's ludicrous. Absolutely confront her. There are 2 huge issues here. First, she asked your boyfriend to keep this a secret. And second, yeah, what a trash friend and roommate she is. Crushes happen, but for her to confess to your boyfriend, she was legit wanting him to dump you for her. She wasn't just confessing if he was single, she knows he's not single. She was making her move but got shot down. And your boyfriend needs to put a stop in the touching etc. And maybe this is going to be unpopular advice, but do not care one bit how uncomfortable it will make everything, her, the house etc. She did that, not you. You're just going to call her out on her trash behavior. Absolutely this. There's only one thing she was hoping to gain by coming clean, and that was your boyfriend. You both need to make clear to her where she stands on this. There is no easy solution. Option 1, you sit her down and tell her your boyfriend told you everything, and he is super uncomfortable. Tell her that she crossed major boundaries, and you need time apart. No more shared dinners. Option 2, even though it's a pandemic, housing is still a priority, and rentals are still allowed to be shown and whatnot. Start looking into other affordable housing options. Personally, I would do both options. I know confrontation is hard and uncomfortable, but what she did was so unbelievably out of line. And touching your boyfriend is so creepy. You will never feel comfortable around her again. So even though you can't move out tomorrow, you should start saving and planning for moving out as soon as possible. And now for the update. It gets a little intense, so first I'll just cover some things I wasn't able to in my original post. I trust my boyfriend completely. Even if I didn't, this apartment is large, not massive. I know where that beloved MF is 24/7. A lot of you asked when after my housemate's confession he told me about it. He told me a couple of hours afterwards. He explained to me after we had a chat about it that he was afraid I wouldn't believe him or be angry, because at first, He'd thought it was a weird joke that made him uncomfortable, and he felt weirded out, rightly so. I agree with the bulk of you that her continued touching is inappropriate, and while a number suggested he just confront her himself, I empathize with being in a situation without breathing room where someone is actually inappropriate with you. It's not easy, and you can quickly find yourself unsure if those brief moments of crossing a line happened. He's not on our lease, and understandably he was concerned about me and the power dynamic in the house, because her room is a mini granny flat, she pays the bigger share. I also don't believe that it was, as some suggested, a hypomanic episode. I have bipolar too, and while I understand the love rush, she exhibited zero other behaviors, and never tried to contact my boyfriend outside of the weird touching. I also can appreciate there's no way she was actually in love. So, yesterday, after a tense few days of trying to avoid her, my boyfriend and I were in the kitchen at breakfast, with her around in the living area. I went to our bathroom, she has an ensuite, which is just off the main area, to brush my teeth. I walked back out to grab my phone as she was sidling behind my boyfriend, who was looking in the fridge, and caught her running her hand and forearm across his lower back where his t-shirt had ridden up a little. My boyfriend, who didn't see me, yelped really loudly, and just lost it. He yelled at her to stop. And when they both saw me, he starts going, you see? This is what I was talking about. I was furious. Just whole body anger, and I could see she had now realized he had told me about her confession/behavior, and just sprinted to her room and slammed the door. My boyfriend and I went out for a walk to calm down, and he kept apologizing for not being more firm, but he was shaken up. Some of you told me I should just confront her head on, which in the moment I 100% sided with. I was so angry for him. He told me he'd rather give her the opportunity to do it diplomatically. I appreciated what you guys said about lockdown being extenuating, and in discussion with our mutual friend, I was willing to believe that an element of it was naivete, and a bit of fantasy gone too far. I was willing to be kind to her. When we returned with a plan of action, we knocked on her door but she didn't answer. We tried a couple of times, but she wouldn't come out, although she was seeing my WhatsApp messages. Come late afternoon, I was just over it, so I knocked and told her I was coming in. I sat her down on her bed and told her gently but firmly it was inappropriate, making us uncomfortable, told her she had to get the hell over it / herself if she intended to continue to live with us. She burst into tears and starts crying about how she's so sorry and what a bad person she is, and she can't believe the pressure of lockdown is getting to her, whatever, and I felt bad. Started sympathizing, trying to be compassionate. And then she says, it's just so unfair that the guy I'm in love with has a really great girlfriend. Reader, I lost my cool. Unfair my butt. I told her she had a lot of growing up to do, and perspective to learn, and that she owed the house an apology. She started to have a meltdown, a full, weeping, hiccuping snotty meltdown. And then when I stood up to leave, I spotted, in her clothes rack, my freaking shirt. I took it, and went back to my room. My housemate cried loudly with the door open until 7 p.m., for attention, when I cracked. I used our emergency contact sheet, called her mom, told her she had to come pick up my housemate. I've never met this woman who came rushing in like a superstar, but the look of annoyance and embarrassment on her face when she arrived and found her 27-year-old daughter having a tantrum told me this wasn't a new part of her personality. My housemate also STFU pretty quickly after she realized her mom was there. They didn't say anything to us, and we just hid in our room until they were gone. I think she'll be gone at least for a while, but I texted her to let her know it would be best if she texted me before she came back. I don't know when I'll see her. Technically the lease ends in August, so my boyfriend and I think we can make it work and find someone new, and if not, it's not so long till we can resign without her. As a coda to all this, my boyfriend mentioned if she took a blouse, maybe she took other stuff too. I appreciate some of you may consider this an invasion of privacy, but I did go back in, just to check the clothes rack. I found a set of my jeans, my t-shirt, one of my boyfriend's work shirts, a vinyl I owned, my freaking charm bracelet from when I was a kid from inside my jewelry box, and a sheet of my old antidepressants. This was just what was on the rack / on display. I imagine there's more in the drawers. I don't know if this was the right thing to do, but I left them there for now because I don't want there to be any doubt she stole them. There's zero chance she's going to live here anymore. Honestly, I hope she does get help. I'm really angry and violated, as is my boyfriend, but I can empathize with the havoc an uncontrolled mental health issue can wreak on your behavior. And while it's still wrong, it still sucks for her to experience it and lose friends. Note, I can't be sure, none of us can, but I feel like maybe she has a histrionic personality disorder. P.S. Our mutual friend has told me another friend who went to school with my housemate had told her a rumor she'd told a bunch of people in their year that she had leukemia. Yikes. Now for some comments. That's a whole lot of yikes. I personally think you should go back and get your stuffs. You know she stole it, she knows. Unless you're pressing charges, it doesn't matter. Since some of those items are sentimental, you run the risk of her coming in the middle of the night and taking it all / quietly moving out and never seeing your things again. For real dude, go get your things, especially the bracelet. Let her try and accuse you of taking those things back. Then play innocent. What do you mean I stole from you? Are you talking about the things that magically disappeared from me and boyfriend's room and appeared in your room? Surely you can't be accusing me of taking my own things without your permission? I'm just going to go in and take it all with no recording. It's my only chance. Weirdly, a lot of the stuff only went missing recently. My jeans, the record. I'm not keen to get into a tug of war, but I kind of suspect she's probably not as malevolent as some commenters think, but I'm really only basing this on my own internal compass for the unhinged, which is usually correct. I would just go ahead and take your stuff back, especially your medication and bracelet. She already stole from you, so if you give her the chance, surely she will try and lie to cover it up. Maybe it's going too far, but if it were me, I would look through her things to retrieve anything else of yours that may be in there. Same, I would maybe let her know in a text I took the stuff back, and if she tries to accuse you of stealing it or invasion of privacy, just do what a commenter here said, are you saying I stole my own stuff etc. But, I had an ex of mine steal my stuff and I never got it back and there was a mobile phone there with some important to me stuff in. I write poetry, it was in the notes so I lost it, and now I'm overly cautious about these things. Sounds like this girl wanted to be you. She started with your stuff and the next thing was your boyfriend. Feels like a Lifetime movie. Now for the last story. Update, my 20 female friend, 21 female, is going to great lengths to prove that my boyfriend, 24 male, is cheating, even though I know he isn't. Original post, so I live with Emily, a person I met a couple of years ago. We became fast friends, admittedly moved in together last year out of convenience, but have stayed true to our friendship, which has definitely strengthened. My boyfriend is Sam, someone I met about a year and a half ago. We've been dating for just over a year, with our relationship transitioning into an LDR about 5 months ago because Sam moved for work. I never thought that there were any issues between Emily and Sam. In our early stages, she was very gracious and seemed to know the perfect balance between socializing with Sam and giving us space. It was only when Sam moved away that she started making little comments about how funny it would be if Sam had a side chick in his new city, or that I was actually a side chick and he's gone home to his family. There is no way this is true. Sam has always been honest and open, has always mentioned that he quickly shuts girls down if they try it on with him, and as for the family thing, I helped him move into a small 2-room apartment, and not a family home. I've always shut this down very quickly whenever Emily starts on with it. However recently, she's been taking extra steps to try and make me believe that my boyfriend is cheating on me. She told me over dinner the other day that she had proof that Sam had slid into the DMs of one of her friends, and showed me a screenshot of Sam's secret Twitter account hitting on her friend about 9 months ago. This account was not Sam's username at all, and just in case it had been a secret account, I searched the username and it came up with a profile of a 15-year-old boy also called Sam. Though I told Emily this, she was insisting that this profile was my Sam, and that he was clearly catfishing using this kid, or that he was Sam's younger brother. Sam has no younger siblings. Last night, she sent me an SOS message saying that there was an emergency. But after rushing home to see what was happening, she said that the emergency was that Sam doesn't have his Facebook relationship on his profile, and that it was obvious he's trying to appear single. The reason his relationship isn't public is because I asked for it not to be, since I don't believe that my relationship status is everyone's business. We are in a relationship on Facebook, but only privately. Yet again, I explained this to Emily, and she still tried to argue that he could still be cheating, and that I was subconsciously manipulated to keep the status private by him. I really wasn't. I'll clarify here that I've never said to Emily that I think Sam will cheat on me in his new city because I don't. Simple enough. It may have been that she was jealous or wanted him for herself, but she is in a relationship of her own. Her boyfriend of 2 years is over usually 2 to 3 nights a week. I'm definitely going to put her on an information diet regarding my relationship. But should I consider going further? Now for the top advice before reading the update. Your friend is the world's crappiest detective. Is there a benefit for her if you're single? Like, do you bring Sam over to your place a lot, or are you planning on moving in soon with him away from her? Has she ever been cheated on in a similar situation? Lock your room and watch your phone. It shouldn't be, but that's how she'll get information if you stop telling her about you and Sam. Do tell her that you're no longer going to respond to her emergencies and put her on mute when possible. Then you only get upset when you're no longer busy? Has she ever been cheated on in a similar situation? This was my thought. It feels like she's got some issues to work though. She can't believe a LDR would work without someone cheating. Or maybe she's comparing her own relationship to OP's and coming up short. Sam is a better boyfriend than Emily's, and she wants to bring him down. Like, do you bring Sam over to your place a lot? This seems unlikely as this behavior only started after Sam moved to another place and was no longer coming over frequently since their LDR. Sam and I are in an LDR, and so far he has been over for 2 weekends in 5 months, so she couldn't claim she's annoyed at his presence, especially when her boyfriend can spend half a week at our place. We're also not planning on moving in together anytime soon since I have a solid life here. To the best of my knowledge, she has never been cheated on, nor has she been in an LDR, so all of her beliefs about Sam cheating on me because we're in one, are built on tales from others. And now for the update. So I posted a few days ago about my housemate Emily, who had made it her life's mission to try and make me see that my long-distance boyfriend Sam was cheating on me. After posting my original post, I sat Emily down and told her that I would not be engaging in conversation with her about Sam at all. She tried to claim it was all in my best interest to listen to her, but did rein it in. Drama over. Until it all blew up. I got a very angry message yesterday from Emily's boyfriend, calling me every name under the sun, including a homewrecker. I asked him what the hell was going on, and he said that he knew all about how I'd been cheating on Sam, and how I'd convinced Emily to do the same to him. It turns out he'd found out that Emily was on Tinder and was talking to guys, and had even met up with a couple and done whatever. I had no clue she was doing this. Whenever she left the house for the night, she always said she was staying at her boyfriend's. I told him in no uncertain terms that I had not encouraged Emily to cheat on him, and I was not cheating on Sam. He then tried to claim that Emily had told him that I was away getting with some Tinder guy on a specific evening that I wasn't in the flat. I was celebrating Sam's birthday with him in his city, and had the timed and dated photos to prove it, and of course Emily knew where I really was. I have no clue whether or not her boyfriend believes me, but I haven't had any other messages from him since. Emily was wailing my door about 10 minutes later, saying that her ex-boyfriend had gone insane, and she only cheated because he was abusive. I can't say I saw anything, but I also can't say this was a definite lie, and she was scared about his reaction, so she said I was involved. She then said that I would understand her position if I had broken up with Sam like she wanted me to. I'll admit, that got my attention. I asked what she meant, and she said that she had wanted us both to be free from our partners, but she knew I wouldn't cheat on Sam, so had tried her best to convince me that he was cheating so I would leave him. She got the door slammed in her face. Even if she did want an escape from her own horrible relationship, her non-stop attempts to persuade me to leave my boyfriend just for her own gain is enough for me to just cut her off. I didn't even wait until Emily woke up this morning to put my plan to move out into action. The landlord has been contacted and is very understanding. We're very close to the end of our tenancy anyway, so I'm breaking my lease, and I'm going to spend the night in a friend's spare room before making my next move. I might write her a goodbye note, but she hardly deserves it. I've been wondering for a while whether or not I should move to be with Sam. I think this is now going to be a big part of my decision. Also, a lot of comments in the original post were suggesting that something had happened between Sam and Emily while he was still living in this area, and she was trying to make me see that without coming clean. I didn't reply to any comments because I know the sorts of responses I would have got to. I know he's not cheated on me with Emily, but I do know he didn't. He never contacted Emily privately, and was really only friendly to her because she was my housemate. Sam was just as unlikely to cheat with Emily as I was with any of his friends, family or housemates. I know some of you may still think that he could still have cheated/cheat in the future, and I can't definitively say he didn't/won't, but I'm not going to ruin my relationship with what-if style thoughts. Now for closing comments. Make sure to photograph the apartment so that you can protect yourself should Emily try to damage the apartment after you break your lease. While your landlord may provide your security deposit, Emily may try to sue you for damages incurred during your tenancy that prevent her from getting her security deposit. This needs to be higher up. This sounds like something an Emily-type person would do. I wouldn't even write her a note. She doesn't deserve it. She deserves to wake up and realize that there is no one there anymore, and needs to realize that when you do stuff like this, people will leave you. What she did was insane. I'm happy that you finally found out what the hell was going on. She doesn't deserve a note, but maybe all her future friends/acquaintances/housemates/etc. deserve that OP explains in no uncertain terms why she is leaving Emily behind. The strangest thing about this is that, even if you were cheating on Sam, how does that make it your fault that she cheated? Does she not have free will of her own? Like she sees a friend cheat, and instantly thinks that she has to as well? Emily did a great job of distracting her ex and directing his anger at you. Her ex is an idiot though, in my opinion, to even entertain the idea that it's your fault. Clearly, they aren't very mature people. Good riddance. Edit to clarify, my questions are rhetorical. I really just asked them to point out the absurdity of the situation. You can all stop explaining to me the concept of making excuses and horrible people not taking personal responsibility. And that's it for this video guys. If you have thoughts to share, leave a comment below. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you like this content. I'll catch you in the next one. Good day everyone.